Next call, Daytona Beach, Florida. Mary on the Republican line.
Hello. Good morning. My statement today, I would like to suggest that we do have a problem with health care in this country, and we do have many people that need help that don't have help. My husband and I have never, ever earned over more than $50,000 a year. We raised 3 children. We had insurance for the children. We did without insurance ourselves to make sure they were covered. However, I think the biggest problem in our country is we're not really paying attention to preventative for the future. Our children today in school do not have to take gym class. They talk about the obesity problem in our country. Part of it is because our children are in school 7 and 8 hours a day, not getting physical exercise, not getting proper nutrition, and not getting enough attention by the community to make sure that they have what they need to fight these flus and what have you. I think if we start on a basis of making sure the children have what they need, and then the emergency cares and what have you that are needed along the way are taken care of, our nation would be healthier, and this health problem would not be as bad as it is today.
Right.
Thank you.
I think those are very good points. I think preventative medicine, being healthy, being thin, being fit are very important. And any time government's involved with paying for things, I would not have government pay for unhealthy things. So, for example, if government's paying for the food and deciding what food is sold in high schools, there's no reason you should have sugary drinks in there, and you should have exercise as part of the school day. The same way, when you receive food stamps from government, those food stamps shouldn't be going for soft drinks and chips. I think we should restrict where they go, and at the very least it should be going towards only very healthy foods, you know, bread, water, milk, meat, the staples of the diet, but we shouldn't be allowing people to use food stamps to buy Coca-Cola and chips.
Next call, St. Augustine, Florida. Scott on the Independent line.
First thing I want to say is I'm not a cell phone. I'm not a TV, which, by the way, we don't make in this country anymore. Number 2, capitalism is a complete and total failure. If it wasn't, the rich wouldn't be running towards socialism. The rich knows capitalism is a failure. That's why they ran to the government for protection. See, down here on the bottom, we get 24/7 capitalism. We know it doesn't work. And what I don't understand is why people like you don't know it doesn't work. I mean, the rich knows. Won't you go ask them? They're all very socialist. Down here, we don't get any socialism. Because of you. Thanks to you, we won't have health care. Thanks to you, we won't have jobs. Thanks a lot.
Well, as far as capitalism being a failure, there's a great story. Back in the early 80s, the Soviet Union wanted to run a propaganda film to say how horrible capitalism was. And so they showed a video, and it was one of the not-so-great-looking buildings in New York City, had some broken windows, and it was run down. But it backfired on them because they showed the poorest people in our society, and you know what they found as they scanned down the building? Color television sets in almost every window. The poorest people in our country compared to the middle class and the rich in most of the rest of the world. Capitalism is without argument the engine that has brought the greatest wealth and the greatest humanitarianism to every strata. Sure, we have rich people in our country, but we have a country where Bill Gates became the richest man in the world, and his parents were teachers. He was ordinary middle class. We have a country that has great mobility, and most countries don't have that. They have a propertied elite or a royalty or a communist elite in China or other countries like that. We have an incredibly free and mobile society, and it's not perfect. There are poor, but the poorest in our society are richer than most countries, and we should be thankful and understand capitalism and how it brings great wealth and humanitarianism to everyone.
On the Democratic line, we have Tino from California. Tino, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Go ahead.
My question and comment for Mr. Paul, I would like to ask, while his party had control of the House and the Senate 15 years ago, why was there not a call for health care reform then? And why is there such a resentment now that Barack Obama, the first African-American president in office, is trying to do something for the people? And also, why aren't you rebuking any of these Tea Party meetings that are calling Obama racist, Obama, Hitler, and everything else. Can you please respond?
Yeah, well, I don't engage in anything calling the president racist or Hitler or things like that. I don't think that's appropriate dialogue and not good for us or the country or for the conservative movement. But as far as for calling for health care reform, I think you make a good point. When Republicans were in charge, they didn't do anything with health care reform. And I think that's part of our problem as a party. I think we're doing a good job at pointing out the problems with what President Obama is proposing. European-style socialism is not a good answer for us. Having the government run health care is not a good answer. And we are doing, I think, a pretty good job of proposing how your choices on insurance will be restricted. You may not be able to buy a health savings account if the Democrat plan gets passed. We're doing a good job of pointing that out. But what we do need to do is understand that there is a problem in our country. There is an access problem and there's an expense problem. But my question is the basic question we started this interview with was, do we want to go towards more government or less government? Do our problems exist now because we have too much government involvement in medicine or too little government involvement? I would say we as Republicans need to promote a plan, yes. We need to have an alternative. And I think there is an alternative. We need to make health insurance more like term life insurance. Multi-year plans that would get rid of portability problems, that would get rid of pre-existing problems, and it would get rid of expense problems because you would have higher deductibles. And when you had higher deductibles, you would have freely floating prices, and competition drives prices down. Competition works in every segment of the economy, and while healthcare has some unique aspects, and we aren't a cell phone, we are more important than that, it is a service industry, and we need to figure out how to get competition to work in a service industry. And you can't negotiate for your heart attack, but you could, well, when you have to get an eye exam once a year because you're diabetic, you could call 3 or 4 different doctors and find out what the price is. And you could choose some based on quality and some based on price, but we have none of that. That's what works in all the rest of the marketplace, but nothing in healthcare is driven by price because you have an intermediary, you have the insurance company, and it doesn't work. So it's not working because we don't have enough capitalism. We need capitalism, which means competition, which means mobility of prices. That's what we need to bring into healthcare.
Fort Myers, Florida, Bobby on the Republican line.
Yeah, I think it's funny that when President Bush was in office, and even before him, when President Clinton was in office, that the Democrats would say, oh, well, the Republicans are trying to get in our bedroom. But when I hear these Democrats say, well, you know, you need preventative care, you need a colonoscopy, I can't help but think they're just trying to get up in my asshole.
Next call. New York City, Robert on the Independent line.
Yeah, hi. For the candidate, thanks for taking my call, by the way. I think it's a little unfair for the candidate to say that categorically government involvement is always bad. I mean, we have the armed forces. I mean, Medicare, like you said, and Social Security have certainly worked. And, I mean, he's in Congress, for goodness sakes. I mean, that's a government-run program. As far as his statement about the non-citizens getting care, I mean, that's the situation is now. Obviously, if an illegal alien is in an automobile accident, I don't think that the candidate is going to expect that person should not get care, and the Obama plan is not changing that. My final point is that if he wants capitalism to work in health care, then he should be in support of the Democratic plan, because that's essentially what they're trying to do with that plan. Thank you for my call.
Well, I don't think the Democrat plan is injecting capitalism. Almost all of the plan involves mandates. They force you to buy insurance, but they're also going to give you a big tax or penalty if you don't buy the insurance, but they're also going to tell you which insurance you can buy. See, we did it in Kentucky in 1994. We had health care reform similar to this Obama plan, and 35 of 37 insurance companies left the state and quit selling insurance because they couldn't make a profit under those rules. So really, no, we're not going towards capitalism. We're going away from capitalism. I have a health savings account. It's the only part of health care that is working because it drives costs down, because I have to pay when I go to the doctor, and I'm only covered for catastrophic illness. And that is what works, and that's capitalism. But under the Democratic plan, if I lose my insurance or have to buy another policy, that health savings account will likely not be approved by the Democrat committees that are approving what insurance can be sold.
We have to leave it there. Dr. Paul, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Next up, we're going to talk with Dr. Edward Miller of Johns Hopkins University, continuing our discussion on healthcare. We'll be right back.